Hey guys, Moneyman300 back for some more Forza 6 videos here, and got another tune here. This is the Class A Nissan GTR 2002, and this is for league play. So this is made this specifically for the to try to beat the BAC monos and the oh shoot, I was looking behind me and I hit that puddle. I need to concentrate a little bit. I'm trying to talk and drive in the rain. Can't look behind. You gotta be careful looking behind you with all the. This is a great car. The all-wheel drive. It's stable. It's fast. You get that quick acceleration off the line that'll really help you in multiplayer lobbies. Ooh, I jacked that turn all up. Gotta get away from these guys. I think there is a mono in here, but for the, the Stradale, the Alpha 33 Stradale, and the back mono just dominate A class pretty much. So. This will give you another option. Plus, it's a super cool car. It is a. That was a interesting way to take that turn. And I'm trying to do this live, obviously. Live commentary. I thought a little something different rather than go drive rivals. Just show you what this car can do in a more real setting. It doesn't brake real well, so you got to be prepared on your turns. You're going to get. But man, it accelerates coming out of turns. Rain might be the ideal condition to show this car off in, but you'll get it. Be pointed the right way before I jump on it. Still out front here. A little bit. There's only like 6 guys in this one. This is a league race. Should be alright. Pretty much in the clear right now. Shouldn't say that, because with 3 laps on this, you never know what might happen. It's fast enough that... I like this car because it's fast enough to compete with some of the faster cars, but it still handles really well, and it's got the really good acceleration. So just overall, it's just a fun car to drive. Doesn't understeer, doesn't over. It's got a touch of oversteer, which I think is good. Miss the puddles here. Back over here. Just caught a piece of that one. Got about an 800-foot lead. Should stretch that well over 1,000 here on the. Try to take this one a little better. Still pretty slow, but not much you can do in the rain. You got to really just chill on that turn. This one can get a little dicey. I like to get way to the inside on that, right there. You clip that inside rail. It kind of helps keep you straight. I found all-wheel drive cars are particularly good in the rain. It seem to get through the puddles better than other cars do. Seem to be able to drive through them a little better as I drive it right off the road. That could have got ugly. Did that twice on this one. Ooh, jeez. That wasn't exactly a good finish on that one. Oh, we're down to 4 people. I think we started with 6 or 7, I thought. It's pretty typical. People leave. Small lobby, though. Would have been nice to have a few more people. This is a ghosted lobby, by the way. So no crashing, which is nice because so far I found the rest of the lobbies to be pretty much hot garbage when it comes to the drivers and the intentional crashers. And I think League, so far for me, might even be worse than the regular online hoppers. Hopefully that'll start to weed itself out a little bit. So far so good here. Not going to be a lot of exciting racing for to the outside, back to the inside. There we go. Half a second faster than my last lap on this. See if we can finish out decent. Not that you're going to lay down, miracle lap times in the rain, but they need to have a like rain and like nighttime leaderboards. Part where I kind of got a little dicey last time. Hang on. I'd have broke a little early there and then turned in a bit early. Yeah, definitely all-wheel drive is the way to go in the rain. Always good to have a couple all-wheel drive cars around just to fight some of this rain stuff. This is where I set it sideways a couple times. Not right here yet. A little better through there, but it's still kind of slow. I kind of took it easy so I didn't set it sideways so much. Finish this one out here, and then we'll go take a look at our build and tune. This is a car I'm really going to like in A-Class. It's going to be one of those go-to type cars that's just stable, easy to drive, fun car, cool car. I could just see it being one of those cars that you're just going to want to, pull out when nothing else is really working and you're not quite sure what to use. You can always just pull this one out. A little clean lap here at least. Not fast, but clean. Alright, so we will finish this one out and head over. I'm not going to go through all the menus. I'll just cut off here and go take a look at our build and our tune. Alright, so here we are over in the garage. Look at that, it's a sweet looking car. It's a classic GTR 2002. Of course, any of the GTRs are pretty much classic. Big time car. So let's go over and look at the build and the tune on this beast. Let's get over to the upgrade shop here and let's start with our engine conversion because we do have one. This is a 5.7 swap just because that engine is so good and it does so well in this car. So we have the 5.7 liter V8 in this car. No drivetrain. We are leaving it all-wheel drive. And then over here we've got the centrifugal supercharger. So this is kind of a standard build when you put the 5.7 on. You usually, if you can, you want to use that centrifugal supercharger on there. You get a lot of value out of that part. Anytime you can use a centrifugal supercharger, it's one of the best bang for your buck horsepower to PI parts that you can put on a car. Front bumper, we're going to have the front bumper on there. We are going to have the Forza rear wing because those are your adjustable ones, and then I do not have any rear bumper or side skirts on there. Over to our tire area, we do have one tire compound up, just give us just a little bit of grip. It's not a ton. You could potentially try this, bump it down and give yourself just a little bit more horsepower, but I like having just a little bit extra grip. I got nothing in the front. Building this actually a lot like a rear wheel drive car, and then tuning it to try and make it react more like a rear-wheel drive. All-wheel drive cars tend to understeer a little bit, so we do some things to get it more oversteer, and because of that, we want a little bit more grip in the rear, so we're going to have a full width on the rear tires here. And one of the main reasons is it's free, right? And it does help. You're going to get more grip out of the rear with that. You can see if I do the front here, it's a significant investment here, and I would have to take some horsepower off, and I don't believe that and you'll notice it when you drive it, it's really not needed in the front at all. So that's our tire width. Let's look at our wheels. We got the SP10 wheels on here and painted black. They're not normally black, but I like the black wheels with the silver look on here, kind of a really clean look on the car. But we do have those wheels on there. You could use any of the wheels that are comparable to that and still keep you in that PI range. I don't think there's any lighter. I didn't go through it with a fine-tooth comb, but I did kind of scroll through there to see if there was anything that would have got us a little extra weight. But there wasn't. So I also did not make it. I didn't even try this. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I feel like this is more aesthetic than anything else. Car handles fine without doing this. You potentially could get 1 PI out of it going bigger with your wheel sizes, but I would probably just leave them the same, and that's how I built it. So in our transmission, we're going to have the stock transmission. That's one of the things that's great about that 5.7. It's got a really good transmission, shifts quickly, and you get through them nice and smooth. And it does cost a fair amount if you do want to put that adjustable transmission in there, and it's really not necessary. I did forget this part should be on there, so I'm going to go ahead and put that on there. I actually forgot to put that on. I had it on there, and then I did a reset and did some things and forgot to put that back on there. So you should have the street driveline on here, and the driveline doesn't do anything for those of you that are fairly new, except for just weight. So it's one of the things that once you get your car all set up, you should go, and there's 2 places you can go to get a little extra weight. You can see if you can put lighter wheels on there and keep your PI the same, or you can come in here to the driveline. Usually, no matter what you do with the wheels, come over to the driveline. Sometimes you can get a little bit of free weight out of that area there. Then we got our race differential, so that's what gives us our adjustable differential in here. And then we'll move over into here. We're going to have the race. I'm not going to go into each one of these because they're race everything. We're going to have race brakes, race springs and dampers, race front anti-roll bars, race rear anti-roll bars. No, the exception of that is I have no roll cage in there, so stock roll cage. It does give you PI down, but it adds a significant amount of weight. That's 153 pounds, and that's just way more than I would like to put in there. And it doesn't, you don't get much benefit out of it. The car's really stable already and doesn't need the roll cage for stability reasons. And then because it's a fairly heavy car, you can see even after taking the weight out, this thing still weighs over 2,700 pounds. So the weight's pretty significant. It's almost 3,400 pounds before that. So you really, really need to get the weight out of it. And that's what really helps this car. So we do have full race weight reduction. Come over to our parts. When you put the centrifugal supercharger in, one of the things you can do is, or the first thing you should look at is how much can you upgrade it, because again, the bang for your buck is significant. So unless you're going for pure weight, right? If for some reason you were going on a bit more of a weight play than a horsepower play, then you want to go to the exhaust. I always want to start. I mean, it's 40 horsepower here difference, and I'll show you the difference in horsepower. There's other ways to build this, but I'll show you an example in a second. So anyway, I have that on there, and I believe the only other part we have on here is the sport intake. So our final numbers, we end up with 433 horsepower, 431 foot-pounds of torque, 2,766 pounds, 54% of that to the front, and there are 0 to 63.2, 0 to 100, 7.5. Top speed of 180 miles, and it's not going to blow your doors off on the top end. It's just not a top, it's not going to be really high-end top-end car. It's a really good mid-range, really good acceleration. It's going to get you to your speeds in a hurry, get you off the line quickly, which is really key in a multiplayer race. So, and really stable. So it'll do real well on short and mid tracks, and a few longer. If you get out on the ovals or Indy or Daytona. Probably not going to be the car you want to use. Probably not a Le Mans old car either. But just about any other track, you're going to manage really well on that. So just to give you a quick example, if I went in here and I took the centrifugal supercharger off, and we'll take that 40 horsepower out of there, and we got 678, and I want to replace it with something, let's say like that. I can replace that 40 with 18 for about the same amount of PI. Now, it's a decent weight. Right, the exhaust is a great thing, and for me is always number 2, sometimes number 1, depending on if you have the centrifugal supercharger option. If you don't, then the exhaust for me is always number 1, just because of the weight place. You can see we start at 2766. We can get down 90 pounds. So 90 pounds and 18 horsepower or 40 horsepower. I could go either way on that. I chose to go with the horsepower, but you could certainly come in here and really run the same tune. It's not going to change a tune. So if you want to come in here and change a build up a little bit and felt like maybe being a little lighter was better, you could use the exact same tune that I'm going to show you here, but just with a little different build. You're going to have slightly less horsepower, but you're also going to be almost 100 pounds lighter. So, 100 pounds is pretty good there. So that's just to show you the difference and what you get in horsepower out of this. Horsepower per PI, you just can't beat the centrifugal supercharger and then the upgrades to that. So I believe that is all of our parts. Let's hop in here and take a look at our tune real quick. And we're going to have 29 and 29 for our tire pressure front and back. And this is one of those, and I mentioned it in my last tuning video, that camber is going to be a little bit more all over the place. Some cars react really well with the high camber. Some get really twitchy. This is one of those that it really benefits from a lot of negative camber. I was able to crank that way up to negative 3.5 and 3.0, and just really helps that grip in the turns, and did not penalize it in braking or coming out of the turns or coming into the turns. And the other thing that you'll see sometimes when it's high is the car can get twitchy, and it's not twitchy at all. It's really smooth, and you'll notice that when you drive this. So this is a place where I adjusted, and I only adjusted the front. I actually left the rear right where it was and lowered the front a lot. The front starts somewhere around 28, I believe. So we pulled the front anti-roll bars down. What I did, just to give you guys an idea, I came in here with the default tune. I adjusted the brakes just so I had my brake pressure and balance that I like to use. And then I went and drove it just to get a feel for what the natural tendency of the car is with the build that I had on it. Is this a car that tends to understeer a little bit or oversteer a little bit? So that I had some idea when I came in here kind of which direction I want to go with it. Now, I knew from tuning a lot of all-wheel drive cars that generally speaking, all-wheel drive cars understeer like a mother. There's tons of understeer in them, so I usually have to tune them. This one wasn't quite as bad. And there's times in here where I'll be at 1 and 40 on the roll bars, just completely oversteer tune the roll bars. Especially on like the Subarus and the Mitsubishis tend to need that more than this car did. But it was noticeable understeer, but it wasn't drastic. So I actually left the rear anti-roll bars where they are, and then just made a pretty big jump down, just under 10 at 9.42 with the front. And that just helps us hook into the turns nicely, and you're able to get on the throttle without the car steering up the track on you. So, without getting that torque steer up. So that ended up good. A lot of the same here. I just dropped the front springs again to help keep the front wheels on the ground and gripping as we're going through it. I believe I left the rear the same, and I left the ride height the same at 7.474. So we ended up at 550, 16.7 on those. If you're within one or two of these, like don't be too anal with getting these exact numbers. Just get it in the vicinity, one or two, one direction or the other. You're not going to notice anyway. In here, I probably played with these a little bit. These are probably both off of default, but the same basic principle here. We're looking for a little bit of a oversteer tune. Having a lower front rebound versus your rear will help with your turn in. So I have 9.0 and 10.3, and then our bump at 2.3 and 3.5, and then full downforce. That's pretty typical. I didn't drive it without the downforce. You could try to drive it in the middle or take it all the way out. What that's going to do is you lose a little bit of stability in turning, but you should get some more top end speed. Probably not going to affect acceleration a whole lot, but you could get more top end if you wanted to by taking the downforce off, and you could do that most likely without adjusting any other part of the build and still be okay. It's something you could play around with if you wanted to. My braking force, 48 and 150. That's just my starting point, and I test it, look at it, see how it feels going into turns. Can I trail brake? Am I locking them up too quick or not? And so I didn't have to make any adjustments on that. The car felt just fine under braking. And then made some adjustments here. Ended up at 60% on my acceleration, and I added a little bit of deceleration in the front there at 5. Lowered the rear acceleration down from I believe it's 60 or 70 by default. Pulled that down to about 45 and 8, and then bumped the balance up to 75. So this just kind of makes it feel a little bit more like a rear-wheel drive car, but still with the grip of an all-wheel drive. So that's all of our parts and tunes. Definitely get out there and check it out. If you don't want to have to go and put these in manually, you can download the tune. Also, you might want to download the tune anyway just to get all the build parts, because it'll automatically, when you install it, it's going to buy all the parts for you, and then you come in and it pulls the parts off, and then you know exactly what parts to go ahead and input. So it's just kind of a nice little trick to be able to do that. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up with that one. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.